Oh, yes, hello, and welcome to the Botanical Garden Library Speed Build. I had something of an idea on what I wanted to do for this build. I just wasn't necessarily sure how I was going to achieve it. I definitely wanted to feature it in Glimmerbrook, the World from the Realm of Magic game pack. And I kind of wanted to do something of a mini castle appearance while also being a greenhouse slash botanical garden. And I also really wanted to feature a large center tree in the middle of the garden while having a wraparound balcony on the second floor. It was a little bit harder to achieve than what I would have anticipated, but who's to be surprised? Doing weird builds like this in The Sims always kind of had their own layer of difficulties, just because the game really doesn't like having, first of all, plants indoors and open balconies. So I'm doing a little bit of practice with the roof here. The roof gave me a lot of problems, more so than I would have anticipated. I wish then I would have known more about roofing like what I know now. I feel like I've gotten a little bit better at roofing since I have recorded this. I've learned a little bit more about keybinds on how to unlock more of the features and how to smooth the roofing to make it look more or less polyagonal, I guess you could say. But in the end, sometimes you have to make some bad builds in order to learn how to make the good builds. Now, I also had a lot of issues with window planning as well, because I really wanted to use the greenhouse kit a lot in this build, but obviously these windows are way too small, and when you line them all up like that, they look very awkward, but don't worry, I do fix it. So I'm just kind of like testing it out, kind of trying to suss out what I like, what I don't like. I tried deleting some sections to see if that looked any better, but it doesn't. I did my best. And then I tried to adjust a little bit of the tower a bit because the roofing wasn't working out over there, and it just wasn't the right shape. So I ended up just deleting the rooms completely, and then I went to the pre-made rooms that you can pop down like this, and I grabbed the octagonal room, and that worked so much better. Save yourself the grief, just use that, honestly. So I'm redoing the tower here, and I'm using the custom room tool just to make sure that the game sees and recognizes these as rooms. And then finally I was able to redo the roof and at least get it to be a little bit more acceptable. So I'm redoing the windows here, and even though I didn't necessarily expect to put eco lifestyle in this build, I do end up putting those as the primary windows. I still liked the greenhouse kit ones on the tower. I think that still looked pretty good, but obviously I needed something bigger and less busy to look at. So the eco lifestyle windows with the massive big glass panes were the best choice, and the wood matched with the greenhouse, which is incredible because finding wood swatches that match each other sometimes is like pulling teeth. So I'm filling out more of the walls with these because I still wanted it to be like a greenhouse. I wanted it to have a lot of natural light. The indoor space ended up being a little cramped, so I had to be a little critical on how I did my staircasing, but it ended up working out pretty well. I think I used the season stairs because honestly, seasons is just probably one of my favorite build buys to use. A lot of the wood looks really good, and it in general just works in every single build no matter what. Now for the outside, I really wanted to put a bit of Romantic Garden in this build because Romantic Garden is another one of those packs I find myself not typically using, but can be situationally great. So I'm just kind of putting like a little nice walk area over here, just something to kind of meander down. And I wanted to put like a nice fountain, and I switched around what fountain I was going to use a lot. I thought about using the Romantic Garden one, but it was just so big. So ultimately, the Realm of Magic one worked out just nice. And then I'm using the Realm of Magic debug menu to do some of the landscaping here. And Realm of Magic has probably some of my favorite debug items in the game. I really like these ferns. I really love these cute little mushrooms. There's all kinds of nice stuff that you can find hidden in the debug menu. And looking at the menu, I'm seeing some of the Realm of Magic windows, and I did like mess around a little bit with using the Realm of Magic windows before I got into all the greenhouse and eco lifestyle stuff, and it didn't work. I like the Realm of Magic build by, but it's so hard to use sometimes. It's so situational, and they don't always mesh and play nice with other things, so unfortunately it didn't work. Trust me, I tried. So I popped down a bunch of these nice debugs like the little fairy lights and some of the crystals, and now I'm putting down some of the romantic garden plants. They come in a lot of these interesting and wild colors, but I tried to keep it a little bit more pasteled, and I realized that this ended up looking kind of something like an English garden. I really like English gardens. I think they're absolutely beautiful. They're one of my favorite garden style types. And then, of course, if I was going to do romantic garden planting, I wanted to use the well, because honestly, when do we ever use the well in builds? It also felt very appropriate for Realm of Magic. We got a little bit of a magic twist going on in here. So I'm just placing down a bunch of these nice little flowers, trying to size and adjust them, just so they look a little bit more natural. And then, of course, choosing more of the pastel tones. And I decided to put some hydrangeas in here because hydrangeas just always look good. They're some of my favorite flowers, and they have so many wonderful color swatches. So they were perfect for this as well. And I also colored a lot of them to be all pastel themed and pretty. I probably didn't use as much of Romantic Garden as I would have liked to, but I had a limited space and I didn't want to overdo it, so we kept it nice and light and simple. Now also, if you see me zooming in and out and rotating my camera an awful lot, I do apologize. I have this thing that I've started to call owling. You know how owls will bob their heads up and around and move in circles and all that stuff, like when they're trying to see something? It apparently helps their depth perception. Now, as far as I know, this method doesn't work for us, but I almost try to kind of do it anyway because it makes me feel better. I feel like it works for me. So I tend to do a lot of zooming out, zooming in really close, twisting myself around and looking everywhere, trying to decide if I really like something. I notice I do that in my art as well. When I draw, I tend to zoom in and out of the canvas really fast and often. So for the inside, I wanted to at least try to put a little bit of naturalism in here. So I'm putting a middle piece that's going to be dirt and flowers and all that stuff, like a nice little garden bed on the inside. And now you can see that I'm putting terrain paint down, even though this is inside. And I think this causes problems later because you'll see I have a massive problem with the floor later. Things did not go according to plan. A lot of things did not go according to plan in this build. So I'm doing a little bit more of the layout, planning where the bathroom is, a little hobby room, and then the library section kind of shoved off in the corner. This is honestly more of a botanical build than a library. I think I tacked library on because it was a little convenient for the lot typing, because we don't have a botanical garden lot type. So I'm trying to put in some of these large planter boxes around, and they don't really fit super good. The space ended up more cramped than I anticipated, but I did try to put in a little bit. I don't know if trees can grow inside this place, honestly. And I wasn't entirely sure because sometimes trees will act funny if you try to grow them when there's like a roof above it, and a lot of these planters are underneath the balcony. So when I go around later and put down harvestables, I didn't put down any trees. All right, so this part right here is what I was talking about. You can see where I'm trying to place down flooring, but it's not showing up. It shows up on the second floor, but it does not show up below around the tree. So like I hold shift, it does nothing. I try to click and drag, it does nothing. It was weird. It just wasn't appearing. But don't worry, it'll appear later. So I kind of submitted myself to the problem, and I just kind of started putting terrain paint kind of like in a little dirt trail leading around the tree. All the other rooms had flooring on them. This is the one that did not. And even when I put flooring in on one of those side rooms, it acted funny where like the floor couldn't decide if it was above or below the grass. Very weird. Now, looking back on it, I think it was just a visual glitch because trust me, the floor is there, we just can't see it right now. So I'm popping down some of these cute, adorable little mushrooms I really like. I put some cottage living in this build too, just because cottage living had a lot of wonderful gardening stuff. And then a little bit, of course, of the greenhouse kit. I did a lot of filtering to try and figure out what I wanted to use where, and I'm still trying to somewhat reduce how many packs I use in a single build. So I believe the primary packs that were included in this one were Cottage Living, Eco Lifestyle, Realm of Magic, Romantic Garden, Swimming Rooms, Greenhouse, and Book Nook, which probably sounds like a lot. And I'm so sorry. There's so many packs in The Sims now. And it's unfortunate, like, how many things you have to own to do certain things in these builds that you really want to achieve. Sims is definitely by far the most expensive hobby I have. So over here, I started doing the Book Nook area. This was my first time ever using the Book Nook kit. So I'm kind of learning how the modular library works as we go through this. And I think it's really cool. I really like their idea of having bookcases snap onto each other along the walls. Having customizable bookcases like that is such a game changer, and it's absolutely wonderful. And a lot of the furniture in this kit in general are just very cozy and cute. I had a lot of fun putting it in here, and I think that it fit in very well. And these little stackable books that go super high are just absolutely adorable. I love that they stack on top of each other and they can just shove them anywhere. And they have swatches that play nice with each other. These couches that look super comfy and wonderful. It's just such a good kit. Sims in general, I feel, is starting to kind of understand what makes a certain DLC pack good or bad. Obviously, some of the first kits we got were the Country Kitchen, the Throwback Fit Kit, and Bust the Dust, and I think all three of them are not great. Country Kitchen isn't that bad, but I don't find myself typically using it, especially not anymore with Cottage Living being out. But nowadays, the kits are actually pretty fantastic. Like, Book Nook is wonderful. The build items are so cute, and they're so personalized and thematic. The greenhouse kit, which I'm also featuring a lot in here, is also wonderful. The everyday clutter and the bathroom clutter. It feels like they're starting to really hone in on what they like. Anyway, side thought. So I brought poor Daryl over here to playtest the build. I try to playtest builds a little bit as I'm doing them just to make sure certain things work. And as you can see, there's flooring. All the flooring tiles that I tried to put in, there they are. They popped in. So that's what I mean where I think that it was a visual glitch. But I had him kind of run around a little bit just to make sure that everything worked out. And when I came outside, the terrain paint had reset itself. And this is a glitch that I've seen some other people besides myself have, and it is very frustrating when it finally happens to you. So I came back, and thankfully the floor was all still there, so I'm trying to figure it out a little bit. And you can see when I'm laying down the floor, it has like a visual glitch, and then it pops in okay. I don't know, I don't get it, but I just tried. I'm putting down actual flooring this time. I really liked the grass inside. I kind of got used to the way it looked. So I ended up using the Eco Lifestyle floor that looks like grass. And then I put in some like soil around the tree that's technically still flooring. And I also decided to change my mind about the centerpiece tree. Now, I love that base game tree. I think it's fantastic. But inside, it acts funny. Because it's a tree, it changes color with the seasons, and it sways in the wind, which doesn't necessarily make sense for a tree that's inside. So I ended up swapping it for the movie night tree because it's not really a tree, it's a light. It functions like a light, so it doesn't sway in the wind and it doesn't change color with the seasons. As far as I know. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, that's how it functions. So I thought indoors it would be a little bit nicer. Now, The only problem with that tree that I don't like is that I downsized it, right? So some lights will have little effects in them. And when you downsize an object, the effect does not downsize with it. So the little flames in the lanterns do not downsize with the tree. So when you come here in live mode, you can kind of still see the flames of where the lanterns are supposed to be. But I decided that I was okay with it because it kind of looks like fireflies. And I thought that was kind of a beautiful effect to have in a build like this. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have put the actual fireflies in this build. So I think around the time Cottage Living came out, we got these environmental effects like ducks and bugs, dragonflies, and all that stuff, and it came with fireflies. And I think it would have been really pretty to put fireflies in here. But I totally forgot about that because I almost never use it. I should use it. I should try to remember that more often. So we're finally done with the build part of this, thankfully, because that was stressful. Furnishing is honestly a lot more fun to me. I love furnishing. Before I started actually trying to do buildings, I used to just download shells and furnish. So this is a little bit more in my zone of what I like to do. So I had a tiny little bathroom over there, and over here we're doing a little bit of a hobby room for flower arranging and just in general some beautiful decorations. Adding some more of the magical stuff because I love the little herb paintings and pictures and stuff like that. I wish we had more options for frames. I wish we had swatches for a frame that were independent from the picture, because sometimes you want certain pictures, but it changes the frames and it's not the frame color that you want. It's so frustrating. One day, maybe. One day. So this is still a library, so I'm trying to keep track of the requirements this time, unlike my little campers build that I had posted before. I recommend checking out that video as well. In that build, I didn't register it as a park until last minute, and I realized that I didn't have a chess table and 2 benches, so that was frustrating. So this time, I kind of nipped that in the bud, and I already have it. I'm checking the requirements as I go. So I wanted to put a chess table somewhere at least, and we'll have to figure out where to put some computer desks. So I kind of start trying to turn this upstairs into a bit more of the library section, since so much of the gardening was below. So I find a place for 2 desks, and we're going to pop down some computer chairs and some computers. Now over here, I'm trying to put a few more of the Book Nook stuff, just trying to inject a little bit more library into this botanical garden. So I'm using more of the furniture stuff and that cute little coffee table. And I really like a lot of these swatches. I like a lot of swatches that not only play really nice with each other, but other things as well. And then I remembered that I still wanted to use blooming rooms in this build because I almost never use blooming rooms. It feels like one of those kits that are very specific and that you don't always have a time or place for. It doesn't work in every single build. I bought this kit specifically for my wife, actually. So my wife really likes gardening and plants and such. So I bought the Blooming Rooms kit specifically to furnish her bedroom. That's it. That's the reason I bought it. It was for her. So I'm trying to use a little bit of it in here. So back over at the little book nook, I'm putting some of the bookcases up here. I thought this little place would be super cute to sit down and read, especially being inside the tower on the 2nd floor. Feels like it'd be a really beautiful view to the outside. And I love a lot of the little clutter that came with this kit as well. The little basket with like the books and the plant, and the little tray with a book and coffee. The whole thing's just so cozy. I needed a 3rd desk at the very least, so I ended up putting over here. And I didn't put a computer over at this desk because I wanted at least one empty table spot for in case a FSIM brings a laptop or maybe just wants to do their homework or something like that. I didn't really put any child items on the slot. I definitely didn't even put any toddler or infant support, which is a little uncommon for me. A lot of times in builds, I'll try to add toddler and infant support, but not for this one, unfortunately. This just didn't really feel like the kind of place I would bring children to. Maybe one of these days I'll make like a children's library. Growing Together came out with a lot of really nice library stuff for kids, so maybe I can try and put that in a build somewhere. So I'm doing a little bit more landscaping back here. A lot of times I tend to forget little back areas of landscaping, so I did at least catch it at some point. So put down some trees and some rocks, terrain painting some dirt just to make it feel a little bit more natural. Heading back inside just to think about some last minute touches, like putting a painting on that empty wall, fixing some of the books, and just kind of looking around. And I skipped the part, but I went into debug and I placed around a bunch of harvestables. I didn't plant any of the harvestables. They're all just free roaming in the pots. So if you bring a sim here, it's totally your choice. If you either plant them or take them home with you, you can swap them out and plant your own things. It's all there for your own choice. Putting down some of the lighting as the last minute touches, and I tried to keep it very homey and nice and pretty, all that good stuff. Doing some outdoor lighting here, just with a little bit of the romantic garden lights. And yeah, I think that's the end of it. We're all done. So we're gonna hop into live mode and I'm gonna give you a tour. All right, so here we are in the library. I brought poor Daryl back over and we're gonna tour through. We have a lovely entrance with some seating over here. A lot of these cute signages from the cottage living. Our English-styled garden using the romantic garden stuff. I added a little rabbit home over here just in case you want to befriend some rabbits and ask them to be your friend. Because if you befriend a rabbit, you can unlock this rabbit home. And I thought for a botanical garden area, that might be absolutely perfect. The fairy lights ended up being really nice. I think they look pretty good. They don't really have any effects in live mode. They're mostly just static, but I thought they were so pretty. I just had to put them in. The entrance has all of these vertical garden boxes full of all kinds of harvestables for you to use, take home, plant, whatever you like. We have our main center tree here, and kind of like I mentioned before, the flames are still in their original spots, but I thought they kind of looked like fireflies a little bit, so I thought that was very nice. And obviously, if you liked the original tree, you can easily swap this out. In fact, I believe this is the only movie night item I used in this entire build. So if you don't have the movie night pack, this is the only item that would be missing from the build if you downloaded it, and you can easily swap in whatever tree you want. We have a bit more gardening boxes here full of harvestables, that beautiful romantic garden fountain, our little book nook over here with some nice beautiful mood lighting, our hobby room in the back with a flower arranging station, a single bathroom, and then upstairs we have our wraparound balcony with an open computer desk and 2 usable computers in the back, chess table, another reading area. Very simple and small build. I think in general it has everything that you would need when you come to a library. All around, I'm pretty satisfied with this build. It had some challenges and I learned a little bit from it. I learned that putting trees indoors is always a nightmare. That circular rooms are always a nightmare. It was difficult, but I like it. I think I'm gonna bring my Sims here quite often to get their gardening skill up a little bit, maybe some flower arranging, just ways to get your Sim out of the house instead of being on the home lot all the time, and maybe even to use the wishing well or to befriend some rabbits without going to Henford on Bagley, all that good stuff. You can find me on the gallery as PinkyDragon01, and the build is called Botanical Garden Library, which is free for you to download. Doesn't use too many packs. I didn't get crazy with it. We just have cottage living, eco lifestyle, seasons, realm of magic, romantic garden, the one movie hangout tree, book nook, greenhouse haven, and blooming rooms. And we have our lot trait study spot, peace and quiet, and great soil. All around, a perfect place to bring your Sim to either increase their logic, their gardening, anything you need. And that'll be it. Feel free to give the video a like if you would like, and maybe even subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!